It's weird to be back. It's been a long time. Here we are again, streaming after like 65, 70 days of not doing so, maybe even longer. And whenever you come back to something after you haven't done it in a while, we always have to ask ourselves, why are we doing it? What's the point? Is it worth it? Should I? And well, what did I learn? Will I repeat the same path? Will I make the same mistakes? Did I make mistakes? Let's go full screen. And but really the most important thing is, how did we get back here? I think that many times we begin walking a path, and before we know it, we end up doing something. And I used to be one of those people. I used to be one of those people that would walk a path without it even knowing that I began that path. And when that happened, I would suddenly I would find myself in a location, not literally, but I would find myself mentally in a location where I'm like, why do I want to do this? How did I get here? And I never understood it. And I talked about all of this in depth on my last streaming journey that I did 28 days in a row of giving the answers to the world. And I don't regret any of them. But this time I want to try something a little different. Over the last 2 months, there's been many times where I've gotten close to doing this and other things, but I never did it. I always backed off. I always took a step back. And why did I do that? Well, for one reason and one reason alone. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing it because all of a sudden you talk about, hey, do you remember you want to stream, you want to do LinkedIn, you want to do YouTube, you want to do it, and you just start talking like, hey, do you remember when you did that really cool stream and this happened? All of a sudden you feel inclined to go down that path. But what if someone interrupted you? You know what? Let's do one right now. This is mineral water, sparkling water. I'm going to just take a sip of it or drink the whole thing and let's see what happens. Have you guys ever had some? It's from Germany, from Deutschland. So anyway, here we got the Mandalorian. You guys know the famous saying, "This is the way." And oh look, got a pyramid because I'm writing my own terms now, creating my own path. Have you guys ever found a little pyramid? Why does it have green down there? What does a cutip represent for you? Currency? Hey, maybe we should break some of our conditioning by eating some cereal. Wait, what was I saying again? What was their original path? Do we understand? This happens to all of us. This happens to every single one of us. We get info presented to us. We start walking down a path. We get these mental nudges that pop up into our head, and we don't even understand. Suddenly, we feel inclined to do something, and it gets repeated and it gets reinforced everywhere we look. The info that we consume, our lens changes. The way we interpret things changes. Not always for bad. But I ask you, is it always our choice then if we get put on these paths and we don't know how to resist them and break them? And I wanted to make sure that that doesn't happen to me again because, well, I'm not going to get into the personal. That's not what this is about. Right? I just want to give the info without giving personal stuff. I learned from my mistakes, right? Because then I can't reconsume it. Because if I watch it, I start past. But I just wanted people to think about this one. I'm like, a lot of times we end up doing something or going down a path. I'm like, how did we get there? And if you can't resist, if you can't break the path, and just do your own thing and make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, well, then I ask you, is it really your choice? Do you know why you're doing it? So, where does this lead me? It leads me to the question of, but what if you know how to break paths? What if you know how to resist paths? What if you understand the entire game? And what do I call the game? How the world functions, how life functions. We always think that we know. And many times throughout my entire 33 years alive thus far, I've thought I've known. It's like, oh, so now you know how the money game. Now you know the work game. Now you know the personal. Like there's all these little mini games in the grand scheme of life, right? The way the world. But I'm saying actually how the world functions. There's no point in bragging about this, but I I know for a fact that I communicate with the entities that most people would consider that are gods, right? Creation powers. I now know that for a fact, right? And I'll talk about all those things throughout my journey, right? So if anyone ever questions like, do such entities exist, right? Can creation things exist? Can like things pop up out of thin air, right? I know that for a fact now, okay? Are they tied to us and my environment, my surrounding? That I don't know. That doesn't matter. But I'm saying I know that for a fact now, okay? And I've had a journey with them, good and bad, but it's a journey. So, what does that lead me to? It leads me to I've been put on these paths consistently over and over again. And I keep getting back to the same answers. I keep getting back to the same role, the same duty, the same purpose, the same choice. But then I'm like, is it really my choice? Is it really my choice if I keep getting back to this? If I keep getting back to this, is it really my choice? And you ask yourself, how do I keep getting back to this? And I'm like, right? Nudges, suggestions, attacks. But at the same time, what if there's something deep inside of us that wants to walk this path? That maybe, what if we are sent to Earth or this world to fulfill these rules, to fulfill this purpose, to fulfill this setup, right? So if I ask you that, all these things, if everything that I just talked about is true, wouldn't you say then, wouldn't you say then that that's our duty? That's our role. So that was just a little warm up. We're not going to talk too long. We've learned our lesson. But what I really want to analyze today is, are we destined to fulfill a role and the problems that are attached to that? What do we think? I've gone up and down regarding this topic throughout my journey. There were time periods where I was convinced that yes, we both the role part, and then I was just convinced it was just problems that we were chosen for problems. Then I was convinced that it was both. Then I was convinced it's just problems. Then I was convinced actually that we're not chosen for anything. We're not special. They just choose to attack us with anything. And I think all those answers are valid, right? Like they just try to cause new problems in our life no matter what we're doing. And if you actually analyze your life at all, which we really shouldn't focus on the past at all, that's really the theme of everything. We're not focusing on the past. We just have to move forward and create new. But if you start analyzing your life, you realize I'm like, wait, every time period there was themes and like they try to make whatever you're doing become a relevant problem. Literally, it could be anything, right? It could be like, hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna go outside right now and pick up trash, and now all of a sudden there's gonna be problems related to that. You guys get it? It doesn't matter what it is. There's always gonna be problems. But then, so the problems can change, but there's like a root, inherent root problems that happen, and not, I used to just say they're insecurities. They are, but it's more than that. It's almost like a set villain, a set theme in your life. And I challenge all of you to really think about it. It's just like this, it's like recurring problems, and there's different coats of paint on it. But then I'm like, wait a minute. are we actually destined to do that? And what I challenge all of you to think about it in your life, because when I started exploring this, I'm like, well, so I took a break from from streaming, from posting, from educating, from healing. Really, is what it was, from healing and giving answers, and because of the things that happened to me, and I needed to, but I needed to take a step back. I needed to heal. I needed to reevaluate my path, because you see, the most people walk a path and just do, right? Or they don't do and they hesitate. But really, what it is that they're afraid of punishment or being hurt, right? And most people have never been actually punished. So, what I want to do is recontextualize punishment for everyone eventually throughout, but that'll be a topic for another time. But really, where I'm going with this is I've realized that it's almost like I was chosen for the role as a healer. Like wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, it has a different coat of paint. Doesn't matter what it is, right? That's just a reminder to heal. But it doesn't matter what it is. If I'm not doing that role, problems arise. All right. If I'm not healing, problems arise. And what are problems? It could be even as simple as the mental things that pop up in your head. It's almost like you're not a shield. It's not you're not as protected. It's like you're not doing what you were meant to be doing. And when I say meant, I also could be talking about capability. Like you see, like a lot of people think meant is like, oh well, you were meant to, I don't know, like let's say I was meant to sing right now, okay? And I'm like, you don't do that. But I'm like, are you capable of doing it? Right? Because capability is a big question, right? And like if someone doesn't know how to heal, if they're not capable of doing so, like let's say they're not capable of healing the world or the people around them, their world could be just like their family and their friends, right? If they're not capable of doing that, is that really something they're meant to do? And if not, then what's going to happen is they're going to be built up to that, right? They're going to be trained, they're going to be encouraged, they're going to be reinforced, they're going to be set up to encounter situations that give them the experiences and the lessons and the training for them to actually become capable of doing that role. I look back at my life and I'm like, literally, even the worst moments of my life, and this is so messed up to say, but I can't even deny, like everything, everything that's happened throughout my entire life has set me up to learn how to heal, how to teach, how to guide, how to basically make everyone my padawan and pass on knowledge and give answers, share the story to the world and to figure things out. Like I learned how to deconstruct, I learned how to piece things together, I learned how to move chess pieces, I learned how to like connect all the dots and do all those things like that, right? So that means that my role is this, right? Is to be like a guide, to be someone that teaches, that someone that educates, someone that heals, really. But most people don't really understand healing. But healing comes is by guiding, by teaching, by getting people on paths, by getting people to do, by getting people to learn from their mistakes, getting people to learn how to learn, teaching them how to create, like all these things, how to create self-potential challenges. So many things that I talked about in my previous stream journey. This is a new beginning. But I realized that like my entire life was building me up to learning all these skill sets, and literally like in the most random areas. And I'm not going to get into personal things, but like everything, like it all is built up to this point. So then I ask you, like, if you think about that, like, are we? I was developing my capability through all the experiences, good and bad, that I've had throughout my entire life. So that's my role. So it means, what if I'm trying to do a different role? Or what if I'm not even doing that role at all? What happens then? So that's what I'm saying. Like, are we destined to fulfill certain role and problems? Like, were we chosen to show up on this earth, on this world, which is very different than most people think? And we'll get into that over time, but it's very different than most people think. And I'm like, if this was my role, right? That means that naturally there's going to be problems attached to it. And if you think about it, these problems happen just because these problems need to happen for you to actually learn how to fulfill that role. I've been playing uh, a massive multiplayer online game, MMO, Final Fantasy 14 online, recently while I was taking a break and resting, and I chose to play a healer. And when you do certain they call them like dungeon challenges, right? Like there's a tank, someone that takes the blows, right? So basically, they're getting hit, they're shielding it, but they need to be healed. But also sometimes there were unique scenarios that presented themselves. I'm like, oh, I learned how to heal this in this challenge dungeon. Oh, I learned how to do this in this challenge. Like I was learning how to heal with that class, that role, and these different situations presented themselves that taught me how to do it. So if you think about it like that, you see that's a positive outlook, right, on the problems. So throughout our life, problems arise that teach us the skill set so that we can become capable and fulfill our role. Have you ever thought about it like that? I really never pieced it together like this before. It's actually kind of cool. I like it. So there's also problems that do arise though that are in response to that that I'm saying are not meant to teach you anything. Now, if you think about like in video games or movies or books, there's villains and problems that arise that are meant to challenge you and your skill set. I'm saying that as much of a positive outlook as you want to have, that's not the case. All right. There's things in this world that actively want to stop you, that actively want to cause you problems. And for all of you who don't think that that's the case, you're just harming yourself. The sooner you can accept that there are things that are actively wanting to harm each and every one of us, and harm doesn't mean like, hey, they're gonna like chop my head off. Because it's mostly mental. 99% of it is mental. Mental slavery, mental attacks, mental torture. Like that's all it is. Like the physical things are actually much more manageable. Like people have no idea until you've experienced actual, and we've all have, but until you experience true torture, you don't understand that it's not so much the physical, it's the mental. All right. So with a certain role, problems will happen. So I think about it like this. In that MMO that I'm playing, Final Fantasy 14, healers, if there's like a battle, a huge battle against like an army or multiple enemies, normally people are like the group, your own group will be like, attack the healers, the enemy healers. Why? Because if the healers are not destroyed, if the healers are not destroyed, that means they can keep people up. Now, if there's too much damage, sometimes it's not possible. But if you don't destroy the healer, they can just keep everyone alive. They can keep everyone going forever. So what does that mean? That means the healers are the first target. If you get rid of the healers, eventually everyone else will fall. So do we see like those problems are tied inherently to our role? Do you see like a healer is always going to get attacked more? Fuck. A healer's always, just when you piece things together, a healer's going to always get attacked more than other roles because if they don't stop the healer, everyone just wins. See, this is why I would do some self recordings throughout this 2 month break where I piece things together. But I don't need to write it. Actually, I will. I want to show people. I'm writing. I'm writing some notes right now that healer is attacked more because it's their role. So otherwise, can keep all up forever alive. So what did I do there? First of all, I'm writing down notes, right? Because I'm piecing things together. I'm trying to understand some things. Like I'm trying to understand a little bit more about my role and why I get attacked so much. Because I really do. And it makes sense now. Like See, like I'm interpreting it through a game, but I'm actually it makes a lot of sense. Like if you think about it in anything, like think about it like at a family, like who would they attack? The kid that heals everyone or unites the entire family because if you stop that person, then the family can't be united. Do we get it? If you don't stop that person, everyone's going to get united. Do we understand? Like it's actually it's very simple, but we don't really think about it. But because when we're getting attacked, most of us can't process. We can't think clearly because we're just getting attacked, right? We're so focused on responding to attacks, shielding, protecting ourselves that we can't actually think it through. But when we're not, when there's a brief moment of respite, we can actually be like, wait a minute. So I want everyone to start piecing together what their role is because once you start understanding the problems, some problems are meant to train us. I'm writing this one down. Some problems meant to train, some problems tied to role, and some problems are just meant to stop us. But here's one for all of you and for myself. I'm like, what if you're not doing your duty or your role? So I'm a healer. I can tank a lot of blows. But what if I chose to no longer do my role? What then? What happens then? From my findings, events start happening in your life. And even if you minimize all ins, what are ins? Things that can present information to you that you didn't choose. Even if you block as many as possible, I'm telling you, they create situations to try to make you do your role. Because is it our duty? Is it our purpose? Is that why we're here? And if we're not doing it, are there problems? So, what happens then if you still refuse to do your role? I'm saying that there's two sides to things, okay? A light and a dark side. And dark wants to stop you, right? Dark wants to cause the problems or turn you into an exploiter and someone who spreads corruption and poison. Yet light wants you just to do your role, right? Like that's what they're looking for. But I'm telling you that if you refuse to do your role for an extended period of time, because well, let's be real, right? Like what if you fought so hard and nothing happened and you tried to make changes and you just started to give up, right? Because of your losses and your punishment. And you gave up. Well, so you're the hero that takes a break. And they're okay with it at first, but then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, you're capable of this." And I challenge all of you if you can't picture this or envision how this works on a more like higher level in the world storyline narrative game. Think of it like at work, at your work, or in your family role. Like if all of a sudden you stop fulfilling the role that the group, the hierarchy decided for you, all right, maybe they'll be okay with it for a little bit, but if just got a little funny mental nudge, but it's true though. I'm just telling you, like even like if you're the designated person who always like cleans or drives or cooks or does all these things, if you stop doing that, okay, people are okay with it for a little bit. But if you're the one who's capable of it, right, and all this stuff, and you stop doing it, it causes disruptions. And that's good. Disruptions are good, right? Because it forces changes of storylines, narratives, and that's what we want, right? Because we don't want to have a set path. But what I'm telling all of you is that It gets to a point though where all of a sudden people are going to be like, "Why aren't you doing this anymore? Hey, we gave you a month off. Why aren't you doing this?" Right? It's like, "Hey, you had 2 weeks of vacation. It's time to get back." Or like, "Hey, you haven't sold a deal in like 2 months. It's time you were the one who was selling every 2 weeks, right? What's going on?" And stuff like that. For anyone to picture, I really want you guys to think about it like this. And I'm saying that it actually works like this, but on the grand design level of the entire world, each and every one of you, if you're not fulfilling your role, things start happening. And maybe a lot of you, what I've realized is for a lot of you, is that you actually haven't even reached the point yet where you're fulfilling your role. You're still at the beginning stages. You're still being trained. I believe that most of us, by the way, even it has nothing to do with age. We think it does, but it doesn't. Because some people, I learned more in the last 16 months than I probably did in my entire first 32 years combined. Do we get it? It has nothing to do with age. There are some limitations, right? It's harder to be able to learn everything before you're like 18, 19 because you're following someone else's path, right? And but after that, it's the sword is in your hands. So do we get it? I believe now that the majority of people in this world are still being trained. I believe that. I believe that most people haven't reached the point of fulfilling their role yet. I don't think that's the case. So most of you, they're trying to even guide you to, and who's they? We'll talk about it more another time. But there's what I call spirits, but there's these entities, like I said at the beginning, that most of you would consider like gods, creators that can literally spawn things out of thin air, okay, and can modify your reality and can affect things. I interact with them. I communicate with them, right? I know for a fact they exist. Okay. I'm closely tied to them. So why do I talk about those? Because they guide us to things. All right. They're writing our stories, but what if they're guiding us also to fulfill our roles? So what if most of you, the jobs that you get chosen to do is actually because they're trying to train you for a certain role? Like we wonder why we get rejected for some jobs and not others. And you could say that, hey, maybe I didn't interview as well and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, like when I decided, okay, you know what, F it, I'm gonna stream again today. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna post. I'm gonna record whatever. Right? Just I'm gonna start this. I'm telling you, I now know, right? Like I share my vessel shares. I have souls inside of me, right? Other things I share it with at least for sure a light one, but I believe a dark thing too. Okay. I believe I keep the dark thing in prison inside of me, but that's a different story. We'll talk about that another time. But I could just feel it, right? I could feel its excitement. And I'm saying when rebel, I've been rebelling against them for so long. I could feel their anger. Like I could feel them yelling inside of me. I even wrote it out. I'm like, I think about it like, your child, right? Or a kid or a student or something like that. And like, you thought you finally got them on to they're going to like do their homework. And all of a sudden the next day they're like, oh, where's your homework? They're like, yeah, I didn't do it. I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't think believe it homework. They're like, like there's that frustration moment. And I believe that I had pissed off both sides because it changed when I flipped the switch. Like there's a pretty interesting change. So anyway, so are we being guided and trained to fulfill our duty, our purpose, our role? That's up to you to decide. Whoever's listening, the world, but I believe so. I believe that each and every one of us is chosen for a role, and they they put us in situations to learn the skill set. Now, there's I believe sometimes that we end up in situations that we weren't meant to experience and that we were not supposed to have to deal with. I do believe that sometimes we are put into situations where, well, like I said, we're being attacked, right, by the darkness. And we have the tool set to deal with it, right? Like it's like, okay, here we go. Here's an attack. And well, I'm like, okay, I can heal this. No problem. Those are the ones that come naturally for a role, right? But then there's the ones that are actually trying to stop us. Those are the ones that I'm still trying to figure out. Okay. So I'm not going to get lost there. But I want people to think about it because this is my experience, right? And my experiences could be different than yours. But how many of you, if you start actually viewing your life like this, I'm like, the jobs that I have, the situations that I have, was I being trained for something? Do I have a role to fulfill? Was there a reason? And in some ways, like you ask yourself, like, is it destiny? I'm like, in a way, I would say yes. The things that are presented to us, the things that we encounter and experience, they're meant for us. And the sooner people realize that and accept that, the sooner you can start fighting back. I say, if you learn how to develop your spiritual connection, it gets to a point where you don't actually need info. You don't. You can use some of it. It helps. Think of it, info is like the easy mode, right? If right now I tell you guys, hey, 1 plus 2 is 3, that's easy mode, right? But what if like you could just mentally get that lesson? Like, you see, I have 2 mugs and this water thing that I use for an interrupt. Oh, 1 plus 2, 3. You see, like you can use something else to get the same answer, but it's not like a direct info answer. Do we get it? I am piecing this together right now through a video game that I'm playing. Yet they didn't spell it out to me directly there. Right? There's a story in that video game and that has some lessons. But you guys see, I'm not actually talking about the story. I'm talking about the role that I was playing in the game itself. Do we understand? Most people would be focusing on the info that is directly inherently thrown at you. And there's value there, but I'm saying that is also the dangerous one because that's how they manipulate us and guide us down paths. But we'll talk about that more another time. That's not today's topic. So I ask all of you, are we destined to fulfill a role and problems? What do you think? Imagine that you know the story to anything, to a book, to a movie, to life, to your life, to anyone's life, okay? But really to the world, how the world functions. And world, I'm saying the whole entire universe, okay? But for some of you, for for some of you, it might be just work, school, your home, your apartment, your community, right? Like whatever your world actually is, where are the places that you go to? What are the 6 places you go to? Or did you just stay at home? What are the websites you visit? What are the games you play? Like that's your world, right? But I'm saying the grand whole entire world, okay? But for each of you, like that might be a really lofty, very intense view, right? I just want all of you to think about it like that, okay? Make it break it down to a point where it makes sense to you, okay? So, if you know the story, if you have all the answers, do you share them? Would you share the answers to the world's problems and how it functions if you had them? What if doing so you got attacked and tried to be and prevented and they tried to stop you? Would you continue? Think about like if you're an employee at any company, one of the big corporations, and you're trying to get, or maybe you're someone who realized that, wait a minute, the way real estate works and the way mortgages and rent works and survival costs, and or maybe you're like an economist or someone like that who's trying to, or works at a government and trying to reform survival costs. Hey, we shouldn't have any survival costs. We shouldn't have any food costs. And you came up with the answer, and you literally have like this thesis of like 50 pages long, and you want to present it and talk about it to everyone, but you get stopped, you get blocked. They're like, no, we don't want everyone to realize that we don't have to charge people rent or mortgages. We can survive for free. And we shouldn't have any food costs anymore, because if we get rid of requirements, well, then people can just be free to start exploring the world and start creating their own challenges. And then we can start conditioning them to challenge and believe in progression and all these other things, right? That's a topic for another time. But what if they have the answers, they know how to do it, they know how to set it up, they know how to create this, yet people are stopping them because they don't want that, because it inconveniences them, because let's be real, money allows people to bypass things, and you don't have to play the game, you can skip entire steps. If you guys notice, there's a restream watermark here now. Last time I did this, I wasn't I was paying not a lot, but I was paying. I only streamed for what, 1 month, so I paid like 1 month of restream, but still $15. I'm trying to do all of this without spending a single dollar. Now I'm using the free version, and that's all I'm going to use. Can I change the world or impact anything? And really, it doesn't even matter, but can I even just impact my own life with no money cost? Can I? But what if I'm like, you know what? Let me just pay $1,000 and get this pushed to 1 million people. Do you understand? Money bypasses the game. So why would people stop us? Because they don't want their crutch to be taken away from them. They never had to learn. They never had to be trained in their role. They can just use money to win. When I was playing the MMO, I'm telling you, you can ignore 99% of mechanics if you just have what they call gear, items, right? If you have the best items, you can literally get hit by everything. You don't even know how things work. It doesn't matter. Why does it matter? You know what, guys? Why do I have to learn how to heal? Why do I have to learn how to like resist paths? Guys, you know what? Mm, you know what? Today was a bad day. Hey, let me just buy a first class trip to Barbados and let's just reset at the beach. Right? Oh, I just literally bought a $8,000 resort trip and a $2,000 first class flight, and I just booked it all last minute. What's the problem, right? I have money. What's the big deal? We get it. You don't actually ever have to learn how to handle the things if you can just use things like that to constantly put band-aids on it. You never heal the seed, right? The root of the issue. But do we get it? People are using money to make sure they never have to learn their role and they never have to fulfill it. Money's the problem. Anyway, so if you know the story to anything, how do you give the answers? Would you, first of all, would you give the answers? Knowing that it might anger people, they might try to stop you. Knowing that it's a way of fighting back. People don't like that. People want to be in control of the narrative. These entities want to be in control of the narrative. I'm telling you, what I'm doing right now, this is a compromise on their part. This is not how they would want this. There's that one thing that's certain, it's that. They did not intend this path. This is a compromise path. Anyway, so I want people to think about that. If we know the answers, if we know the story, would we share them? People are like, what's in it for me? Does it matter? It just, we're not even talking about that. I'm just asking you guys a question. If you know the story to anything, right? But let's say to the entire world, would you share it with people? Or would you only do that if you get rewarded? Would you only do that if it causes change? Would you only do that if it causes problems? Like what? I hope that by presenting information, by doing this that I can start deviating the world narrative. But truthfully, at this point now, after everything that I've experienced, this is mainly to heal myself consistently and to decipher things because I use this to figure things out, right? I am essentially having a dual conversation with myself and my you, right? My light spirit. And we're just kind of figuring things out. And I can self-record with my own things, so I don't have to stream this. I don't. I really don't. It changed my path a little bit today, but it's fine. It was good. Because it's a side benefit of maybe people can get extra information, and maybe again, these are some of the things I don't know. Maybe by streaming it, it can because I know that there's things that I know that my light spirit, and myself, we can spawn things and impact things in my vicinity, my bubble, my reality bubble, right? Literally, just so people understand, things I can create things through them, or they can create them through me around us from thin air. Okay, take that as you will. And I'm saying, is this like apartment complex or this neighborhood or this area affected because this is my reality bubble? I'm not really leaving this area. But could it be that if I stream, that it reaches a greater thing, right? Like this, so those are things that I don't fully understand yet. I had theories about it back, and they said I'm not going to get lost here, but I just want people to think about that, right? There's still things that I don't fully know, but I'm now 99% convinced that yes, that it will change things based on if I post or if I stream. I do believe that it has more effects than if I just. It does still have effects if I just keep it to myself, but I feel like it also has more. So anyway, regardless though, do you guys get it? I'm doing this even if it has no effect on anything, on anyone. I'm still giving the answers and sharing them with no ask, not caring about money, not caring about a reward, not even caring if it changes the world. That would be a huge bonus if it does deviate things or improve things. But really, it's just to heal myself consistently, to keep moving forward. And before I was enslaved to it, because if I didn't do it, I couldn't survive because I was getting attacked so viciously and relentlessly. I couldn't survive if I didn't do it. And that's why I needed to take a break from it, because I'm like, I don't want to get enslaved to it again. That's why I'm also going to stop here shortly. I've talked more than enough. I'm going to finish up here, but you see, like now I can do shorter bursts and just get one theme, one or two questions across, and stop and move on. I could keep going, like I can, but it's not about that anymore. Like it's just I figure out something, I use this as to change my recency, to heal myself, to push myself, and I set up the day and I protect myself and I create a shield for myself as well. And that's what I challenge each and every one of you to do. You're going to figure out if you do your role. Basically, think of it like this, guys. This is my role, right? This is who I am. I'm a healer, and when I do that in anything, I'm in a better state. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. Literally, even in a video game. Do you guys get it? When I'm healing in a video game, I'm much more protected than if I'm doing another role. It's night and day. Okay, doesn't matter what it is. So I'm saying that if I don't do that, I get attacked way more. Problems happen. I'm going to get attacked regardless. So shouldn't I be fulfilling my role then to be more protected? Right? I wanted to just, by the way, this is where I'm going to end with this part. All right. So if we're destined or chosen for a certain role, right, and the problems that come attached to that, remember we said some of the problems are meant to train us. Some of the problems are meant to that are tied to just to the role, right? Like if you're a healer, you're going to get attacked, right? Because it stops other. If you get stopped, it stops other people from progressing and accomplishing tasks. But it's also just to stop us in general, like anything we're trying to progress on. Right? But if we're destined for this role, okay, and there's problems tied to it, and they're going to cause problems until we do it, Because I'm telling you, I took a break, right? Like the hero put down his sword and his shield and was resting at the beach, right? In Cihuatanejo or whatever, or Barbados. And I took a break and I was like, ah, and I was doing things. And I'm saying at first it was okay. And I proved to myself that I can survive without this. I used it a few times for myself throughout. And I'm like, wow, this is really powerful and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, things started getting worse again. And I'm like, why is that happening? And I believe now they're pushing us to go back to doing our role. So I ask you, that means that they don't let us take a break for too long. Now, if we're fulfilling our role through other means, they might be okay with it. So, like, if right now I would be, let's say, like healing like my mom, or like if you had a kid, like if you're parenting and healing like your kid or something like that, anything like that, they'd be okay with it temporarily. They might have other plans for you, but they're like, fine. But you see, like, if that's no longer happening anymore and you're just doing something for yourself, I've realized that after a while, there's going to be complications that arise because they want to get you back on that path. They have intended storylines. You can break that storyline. I have been fighting and debating, and I still stand by that. Everyone should break their intended storyline, right? But that doesn't mean, let's write this down. Break intended storyline. Don't break intended rule. That's the answer. They're going to try to create an intended storyline for you. Break it. Destroy it as fast as possible. Because yes, they can train you through other means. They might have chosen whatever job or situation you're in right now to train you, or maybe to whatever, to give you an opportunity to fulfill your role. Break that one, but then you need to figure out how you can still do your role because it protects you, it shields you. So if you're listening to all this, I ask all of you, is our role, if we're are we chosen for it? Is it destiny? And are we essentially pushed and pushed and pushed until we fulfill it? And if that's the case, and now we know the answers to whatever it is. Like each one of us is given answers to something, okay? I've been given answers to like the world narrative, the world storyline, the world issues, the world problems, right? Some of you have other things, right? I mean, just think about it. Like I think about like that guy, I forget his name, who wrote the stories, the books about the Anunnaki. Check it out. There's this guy who literally wrote all about that. Or the people who created like Astrum Argentum, the secret societies, or um, the Egyptian cultures that figured out agriculture, or the people like think about anything like Edison light bulbs, things of that nature, like Darwin evolution. Like I'm saying, like that was their role, right? Like that was their they were given the answers to a story, okay, and maybe they weren't given it, like I said, directly, but they were put in situations that they got to training, that they had the things to be able to figure it out, right? So that's, I ask you, if you're given the answers to the story, and now you see stories can just be like literally a problem to be solved, okay? If you're given the answers to a story, do we have to share the answers? What if there's nothing in return? And then, if we're chosen for this role and the problems that come naturally tied to it, think about some of the biggest historical figures, right? Is it our duty and our purpose to do those things? Or is it our choice? You heard that I've been getting pushed, guided, attacked relentlessly to try to get back to doing my role. I told you guys that when I rebelled, I'm telling you, my light spirit got mad because things got even worse than I'm already getting attacked so much and it got even worse. So I ask all of you, do we actually have a choice? We can choose our storyline, but can we actually choose our role? What do you guys think? To me, doesn't it seem like it's now our duty and our purpose to do this? So, do we really have a choice if problems are going to arise if we don't do it? You can change how you do it. We don't have to necessarily heal like this or give answers to the story like this. But if we don't do it, do we see that problems happen? But then I ask you, is the solution actually, here we go. Is the solution, I'm writing this one down, is the solution to just stack as many things that utilize our role? So, for example, I think of it like, hey, creating an organization, parenting a kid, streaming, teaching, playing a healer in a video game, like stuff like that. Is it just the goal is you stack as many things that do your role, and that's how we thrive? So, is really the goal that the people just need to figure out the role? So, what's your role? And now that you guys have heard all this, once you figure it out, you need to stack as many things as possible that employ your role. And your role does not mean your job. Stack as many things that do your role. So I guess the shepherd vest is back. So reminder to heal, reminder for how far we've come, reminder for progress. Shepherd talisman, star diplomat. This is good. It's the first foray back into this, and let's try to do this every day. A short little stream or something, and see where it takes us. Just a few questions is enough to just talk. And if it's 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If it's an hour, it's an hour. It doesn't matter. But we don't need to go much longer than this. This is great. But I don't know. It's interesting. I never really thought about it like this. That people are put in those situations to get the training so they can do their role. Anyway, that's my answer. What do you guys think now that you've heard me analyze this in pieces? Maybe that's really what it is, right? Like I analyze something like this on stream. So are you destined to fulfill a role and the problems that come with it? If you know the story, are you going to share the answers? Are you going to do it for a reward or because it's your duty and your purpose? Or is it a choice? Does it actually matter? See you guys tomorrow.